You might wanna buckle up, baby.
Punch it, I'm Jacob, and welcome to Lightspeed. I don't know about you guys, but Star Wars Twitter has just been kind of a cesspool lately. Granted, talking about Star Wars has been a little bit insufferable now for a few years, but I think you get the idea. But in the midst of all of the toxicity out there, I kind of want to take a step back today just to sort of breathe, in all honesty. And beyond that, talk about something related to Star Wars that, believe it or not, everybody kind of universally loves. Lego Star Wars. It's something that's been a massive part of a lot of people's childhoods for decades now, including my own. Personally, for what it's worth, I don't know a single person that didn't grow up playing that original Star Wars game. It's such a classic game, and revisiting it is always a great time. Getting some of those mini kits, though, that's a different story. I actually beat that game with some of my friends when we were hanging out last December, and it was honestly one of my favorite memories from last year. But much like many other people, Lego Star Wars as a whole kind of meant everything to me growing up. It helped me realize I could combine my creativity with a galaxy far, far away that I also just so happened to love. Not to be dramatic, but I had so many Lego Star Wars sets growing up, from the original trilogy to the prequel trilogy, and best of all, in my opinion, the Clone Wars. Also, can we just take a minute to recognize that the Lego battle droid design hasn't been changed in like 25 years? I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but like, that's just really impressive. As much as I personally love a lot of the new Star Wars projects, I can't deny that growing up with the prequel trilogy and the Clone Wars animated series was kind of the perfect and prime time to be a Star Wars fan. Despite an eventual lack of movies after Revenge of the Sith was released in 2005, the Clone Wars really kept Star Wars alive for the better part of a decade, and provided us with some of the coolest Lego Star Wars sets that I think I've ever had the pleasure of owning, or building for that matter. I mean, I remember coming home from a really crappy summer camp one year whenever I was a kid, and let me just say, my mom had bought me the Clone Wars Republic gunship as a surprise, like, welcome home gift. Building that thing while watching cartoons is still such an incredibly vivid memory that I have from that specific summer. I actually remember building that Lego Republic gunship more than I remember anything from summer camp, so I think that pretty much says enough in itself. I was very much glad to be home, and the Republic gunship, chef's kiss, was the icing on the cake. But my cousin was actually the person to really get me into Lego Star Wars growing up. He was a few years older than me personally, but he'd come over to my house or I would go over to his, and we would spend hours taking sets apart and rebuilding them again, just for fun. My grandparents even had a 90s camcorder that we would try to make Lego Star Wars movies with using stop motion animation. And that camera wasn't really made for that, but like, we really tried. We really gave it the best that we could. I thought about including some of the clips from our old Lego Star Wars movies in this video, but to be quite honest, I kind of just want to keep those memories personally. I also feel like this is worth mentioning, but I also remember him giving me the Naboo Flash Speeder set from 1999. Green is my favorite color, and the set was cool, so he surprised me one day and actually gave me his set, even though it was retired by a few years at the time. I think about that a lot, actually. My cousin sadly passed away back in 2016, and quite honestly, it's still a very hard thing for me to talk about, but building this set over the summer was honestly a really emotional experience, and I'm very thankful for that. But this leads me to what I want to talk about now, how I got back into Lego Star Wars as an adult. Much like everyone else, I was quarantined in my home throughout the pandemic back in 2020, and I was frantically trying to finish college digitally. But I found myself incredibly bored for a variety of reasons that I feel like I don't even have to say, until one day I finally had a revelation. I never got the Lego Star Wars set that I dreamed of owning growing up. Again, I'm very thankful for the mini sets that I did receive growing up, but the Lego Millennium Falcon was always a little bit too expensive for my parents to justify actually buying it. But now I was an adult with adult money that was also stranded in his home. So using that logic, I did what any other person would do. I bought the set. However, I didn't bank on the fact that I'd actually end up falling in love with Lego Star Wars once again. The experience of building such a large set immediately brought me back to my childhood, and seeing it completed on my shelf, it only made me want more. So then I bought Kylo Ren's command shuttle, and then a TIE fighter, and then an X-Wing, and You kind of get the idea. Before I knew it, I found myself addicted to LEGO Star Wars once again. But this time, it was kind of different. It turns out that there are actually a lot of adults that just so happen to still be fans of LEGO Star Wars, and appreciate the imagination and creativity that goes into constructing these models, as well as putting their sets on display. Obviously, I'm a grown man, and I don't play with my LEGO Star Wars sets anymore. Well, most of the time. Yeah, I can't lie, I swoosh the Millennium Falcon around every now and then, but I found it extremely enjoyable to go online and see what other people think about the sets that I personally am contemplating buying, or am actually currently building myself. I've even built some sets with a few friends throughout the past year, and every time I see them on my shelf, I always think back to those times and relive those memories. Every single set that I have in my collection contains a memory, and to me, that's part of the charm. I've also found that building these sets helps to really improve my focus, and as someone with ADHD, let me just say, that's a fantastic feeling. Are there drawbacks to LEGO Star Wars and even LEGO in general? Absolutely. Some sets are ridiculously overpriced, especially if they're retired, and honestly just aren't as fun to build. But when you find a set within your budget that you're excited to build, it's such a great feeling, as well as a really nostalgic one. It's super comforting, and needless to say, there's a lot of ways to still appreciate LEGO Star Wars as an adult. It's helped improve my mental health on more than one occasion, and a creative experience that has proved itself to be ultimately timeless. And I want to end with this. In the old days of LEGO Star Wars, some of you guys watching might remember, there was a slogan on the back of a lot of the boxes. It was two simple words, but even after all these decades later of LEGO Star Wars, I think they hold a lot of meaning still. Those two words are just imagine, and I can't think of a better way to describe what LEGO Star Wars means, not just to myself, but many others as well, and many others today. Star Wars discourse is just kind of crazy on Twitter right now, or just like online in general. I'm sure anybody watching this video has probably seen it, and I do know that Star Wars discourse happens pretty much every other week by this point, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you know what? In the midst of all of this negativity, toxicity, whatever, I think it's time that I finally make this LEGO Star Wars video that's been in the back burner and been in my notes since like the creation of this channel. That being said, what is your favorite LEGO Star Wars set that you've ever owned, or the LEGO Star Wars set that you haven't gotten yet, but you would love to own one day? Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you also enjoy talking about Star Wars, I have a link to my Discord server in the description below as well. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and until the next video, may the Force be with you.